David Stein, Kuya Silver, and very pleased to give you guys an update today, introduce you to the story if you don't know it, and I think I'll be able to go through the presentation pretty briskly and leave some time for Q&A. We have two projects, district scale projects. The more advanced one is our Bethania mine in Peru. It's a past producing mine we're putting back into production. And then we have a big exploration project now in Northern Ontario. So I'll talk about both the projects. What kind of unites us, our story, here's our disclaimers. And by the way, you can get all of this, including the presentation, the rest of the presentation on our website anytime. We keep it up to date. So I like to start here. If you go to a lot of presentations, I think the vast majority of the companies here, they really focus exclusively on exploration, which is fine. But, we have a near-term production story that makes Kuya really unique. And I think that's something that gives us an advantage over the masses of other junior explorers out there. And we're very, very excited, especially now because we've made some announcements in the last few weeks in particular, I'll talk about shortly, that really kind of cement the fact that we're now positioned to go back into production. We announced a toll milling agreement with basically our next door neighbor, so really an optimal situation for us. We announced that a few weeks ago, and we announced an offtake agreement with Trafigura, including they're going to provide some financing to the company. We announced that on Monday. So we're definitely, after it was admittedly a quiet period in the first half of the year on Bethania. We were more talking about Silver Kings, our exploration project in Northern Ontario, but we're really ramping up activity in Peru, and it's really exciting because obviously going into production would be a huge value driver for the company. And perhaps the best way to look at that in a really simplified way is the Lassonde curve, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. It's been a thing in the business for probably more than 20 years now. But I feel like our two projects are really perfectly situated. So we've got the Bethania project going into production. That's really an unquestionably a time when a lot of value is created in a junior company, because basically you go from perpetually spending money to now you can actually start making money, and we're in that position very shortly. The other really good time is right after a discovery is made, because over the next 1 to 2 years, as it shows on this chart, that's really when the discovery gets fleshed out. The market starts sort of ascribing value to it, and we believe we have made that discovery at Silver Kings now, and we're actually drilling as we speak there. But getting back to Peru, so Peru, we've been there for 6 years now, since 2017. We acquired the Bethania project after we went public, and it's well located in central Peru, just east of Lima. You can see on the map there. I can point to it right there, the big ore cart. And we're on some major roads. We're near that city of Huancayo, which is 500,000 people. So that's only 3-hour drive away from the mine. So as far as mining locations go, this is really well situated. We're also in this mining belt I just put some of the public companies on there, but there's actually dozens of other mines, private mines in this area as well. So it's a really well-known, well-established mining region within the greater Peru, which is a big country. Now, zooming in on our piece of the pie here, this is what we call the Bethania district now. It really started with just this one property where the mine is, the pink rectangle there. And we've, over the years, been adding to it as we've had opportunities to buy land from other local owners in some cases. In some cases, we staked it ourselves. And we've really accumulated this district scale land package, including several really meaningful targets that are going to expand our resource in mining, we believe, over the next few years. So we've only explored about a third of the mining property itself, and we think the whole thing is mineralized from east to west, but and then we've got all those other targets. The yellow stars mean we've actually done work on it. We've ourselves mapping and sampling, and the red stars are just targets that we haven't got to yet. We did a resource, announced that early last year, and we really focused our drilling after we acquired the mine on the mine workings themselves, because we wanted to build a mine model that we could then go in and do mining. So we really took a different approach than just than just drilling holes everywhere to make it bigger. We do intend to do that, but we haven't done that yet. So within this block, we got about 14 million ounces equivalent, of which 10 is actually silver. So this is a real silver mine. That's could be important when when the silver price starts rallying. And we ended up drilling a whole cluster of veins, some of which were not even known by the previous owners. So we ended up kind of subdividing things into 3 zones, but they're all parallel to one another, which actually makes it really easy to mine, easy to model, easy to drill. And it's been a very, very pleasant project to drill off and get in there. Not a lot of surprises. It's not very complex. We did a PEA last year, really demonstrating hugely positive economics. It's a low-cost mine. It's high grade. That's really fundamental to the value. And then, of course, very low capex as well. We're going to start off with a small tonnage project and then ramp that up over time. That's really been fundamental to our strategy from day one. We don't want to go in there and sort of blow our brains out with a hundreds of millions of dollars or billion-dollar project, although I think this district will ultimately be that big one day. But we want to get in there and get producing, and even though we fully permitted to build a brand new mill here, we've decided, since this PEA was out about a year ago, a little more than a year ago now, that we're actually going to do toll milling first. And toll milling essentially allows us to defer building our own mill in the future, especially if we can find the right plant, and indeed we did. In October 10th, we announced that we had the agreement with San Valentin, which is the mine right next door to us. Here's a map, so that's that same property package that I showed you before. The star is the Bethania mine. That would be where the portal is, where we start pulling ore out. And you can see maybe I'll point it out to you. So the road, we have to drive around this way and then back down this way. So it's about 20 kilometers by road, only about 7 as the crow flies. But that cuts down our trucking versus the other toll mills that we've been looking at by about 90%. So that's a huge cost savings, which we're really excited about. And frankly, although we didn't, we aren't able to disclose it, our toll milling fees are extremely low here as well. So it's a really attractive opportunity for us, and our terms are guaranteed for 2 years from starting. All right, there's still a lot to do on exploration here. Even though we've been focused on production, all of the resource that we have today, it would sit in that triangle there, the red triangle, which is open at depth. Probably the lowest of the low-hanging fruit. We've got lots of low-hanging fruit here, but the lowest of the low-hanging fruit is just to drill the veins at depth. We had really good, in fact, probably our best drill holes were all the deepest ones that we hit. The deposit seems to be getting bigger, and the grades are just as good, if not better, at depth. So, thicker. The veins are getting thicker at depth. So we're really excited about the opportunity to drill this at depth. If we look at analog projects in Peru and Mexico, I mean, this could easily double at depth and maybe even more. And then along strike, we've discovered this other area on the other side of the hill there, which is another sort of cluster of structurally controlled veins. including we got the best surface sample we've ever had so far on the property, which is the Santa Elena vein, 91 ounces per ton silver, 5 grams gold. By the way, there was another vein on that, there was another sample on that same vein that had 11 grams gold, so it's a very gold-rich silver vein, which some of our veins are. They're not all like that, but that one is. And then when we look at the whole vein inventory that we have right now, I guess this is the best way to describe it. We've got the main zone, Bethania here, including Hilltop, so that would be the extension that would basically double our strike length to the east here. And then we've got these two other zones. Carmelitas is at an old mine, very small mine, artisanal, but we've done a lot of mapping and sampling there since we acquired it a couple years ago. And then we made a grassroots discovery a kilometer to the north, which is we call Carmelitas Norte. So between those areas and also the strike length of the main veins that we've mapped at Bethania, we've got about 2.3 kilometers so far, and that ignores all the red stars that I showed you on that map a few minutes ago, because we haven't gone there, we haven't done the mapping and sampling there yet. But just with these 3 zones or 4 zones, we've got 2.3 kilometers, of which only about 500 meters, or about less than a quarter, has been drilled. And even in that quarter, it's only been drilled very shallowly. So you can see if we go deeper and then we get strike length extensions in all of these zones, we could have many, many multiples of the resource that we have today, 5 times, 10 times, or more. And that's really why we're very confident about this district. That's why we know, we'll be expanding our plant and our processing and our mining down the road. But at this point, we just want to get started. Okay, we'll wrap up with Silver Kings here. This is our project in Northern Ontario. It's definitely earlier stage, but what unites Silver Kings and Bethania is a couple of things. We really like the high grade, very high grade silver veins, which we have at both projects. We like being in, near old mines, and we have that at Silver Kings as well. So Silver Kings, the big difference though is that Bethania was in production up until 2016, so almost only about a year, 18 months from the time that we started our joint venture there. Whereas Silver Kings has been dormant. It's been a dormant mining camp for about 40 years now. The last mines closed in the 80s. So really have to go back and almost start from square one. Obviously, we've got a lot of really good data going back to the early 1900s here in terms of what was mined, what was observed by the geologists and mining engineers at the time. And we've been able to put that all together to build our own new exploration model here. So zooming in on one portion of our 18,000 hectare package is this northern area, which we call the Kerr Project, named after the Kerr Lake there. The Kerr Lake area after the town of Cobalt was the next most important production center in the whole, basically, district. It produced about 60 million ounces. The town of Cobalt area produced about over 300 million. And what was similar about the two was basically you had the silver veins outcropping at surface, very easy for the old timers to find them, and then mine them starting as open pits usually, and then they would go underground. Now, so we're in this area that's already established as being rich, but definitely not as explored as the town of Cobalt to the northwest there. So what we found as we've been, drilling and doing work in this area now for about 2 years is that we've identified that this Nipissing diabase, which is the orange unit on this map here, seems to be the controlling feature, that's essential to finding the silver mineralization. And by the way, when I say silver, I really mean silver and cobalt because they occur together in the same veins. And sometimes you hit 5% cobalt, and then another hole you'll hit 1,000 grams or 10,000 grams per ton silver, and you get everything in between. But the cobalt and the silver are almost always there when you hit the ore veins or the mineralized veins. Anyway, getting back to this. So this is a 2 billion year old volcanic flow or in-placed emplaced actually subsurface volcanic unit. And we believe it was emplaced as a flat unit and then folded subsequently to that. So you can see the folding now, and on some faulting as well. But basically for the last 2 billion years, not a lot's happened here. What we found, though, is that the diabase itself is a terrible host rock. It's not good at hosting the mineralization in this area, but above and below it does seem to be your optimal place to find the silver veins. And of course, the town of Cobalt, the diabase was actually completely eroded away. The veins outcropped its surface, and lo and behold, they found them and mined them. Same with the Kerr Lake area. Now, where we made a new discovery actually was just to the west of Kerr, northwest of Kerr, and we had to go through 200 meters of barren diabase before we found the silver zone. So let's look at that. All right, so this is one target that was on our list, and we decided to drill it earlier this year. It's a hill where there are some barren veins at surface, so it's a good indication showing you there's some structure there, there's some potential to host mineralization at depth. But of course, the old timers, in the early 1900s, would have just, found that there's no silver here. They actually even went underground about 100 feet, 30 meters, and they found the veins again, but lo and behold, still no silver. Why was there no silver? Well, look, they're way too high in the diabase here. This is where you want to be down here, and they were way too high, and so they walked away disappointed. This is around 1910, 1911. And, we come back 100 years later, 110 years later, and we were able to drill. There's no diamond drilling back then, of course. We were able to drill down here, and we were trying to hit these veins where the contact between the diabase and the lower rocks is. And in our second hole, we hit the discovery, which was 15,000 grams per ton over 3.3 meters. So that's 1.5% silver. It's about 100 times the grade of what most silver guys report when they have drill results. So it's incredibly rich here, and that's a legit new discovery we're very, very excited about. Here's some of the work that we've done at surface more recently, just mapping out the veins. There's a parallel one there, which we call McNamara, and then we've got another vein over on the other side of this lake that we've kind of stripped off its surface, which we call the Clark vein. What we're finding, we have a drill program going on right now, is that when you go below the diabase, there's actually more veins, and some of them are cross-cutting these east-west veins, actually, which is very consistent with, if you look at the old mining maps, the veins are very, almost random. They go all over the place. They're not, it's not like Bethania where all the veins run more or less in the same direction. Here you get some stronger orientations, but then there's actually those secondary and tertiary veins seem to be really important in hosting mineralization as well. And of course, we have, well, not of course, but with 18,000 hectares, we have other targets as well. So Campbell Crawford's the one that we're working on almost exclusively right now, but if I had more time, I would be happy to talk about more targets here, because we have other ones that follow the same model. And now that we've really proven our exploration model, we can go back and look at all of these and find the ones that have the structure that are below the diabase that would not have been found by the old timers 100 years ago, and this is how we are prioritizing that group. And I think we've got around 40 or 50 different targets here. So just to wrap up, we've got our advantages as a company. Lots of companies for you to choose from, but our corporate advantage, we're a near-term producer. We are a true silver company, 70% plus revenue from silver, so we're not zinc or gold masquerading as a silver company. High management ownership, aligned with our shareholders, and simple structure. Exploration advantage, easy to find our veins in Peru. We've got the benefit of flow through to work with in Canada, even though it's not quite as easy to explore there. And our production advantage is that we know a lot about our mine. It was in production fairly recently, so it's very low risk technically. and low capex. We're able to go back into production very quickly here. So that is the presentation. I've got the market cap slides. I mean, our market cap is ridiculous. 20 million. For what the assets that we have. Great management team, but you can go through this at your own leisure. So that is really it. I'd like to, since we have some extra time, open it up for questions now.